So this is rental car number 48. Today I'm back in South Korea in the city of Gyeongju, and I decided to rent this thing. So this is an electric tricycle. It seats 3 adults, and it is an absolute ton of fun to drive. But honestly, I have no idea what this thing actually is. It has a couple of markings on it. It says Smart Drive right here on the side, and then it says E-City Bike Power right here underneath the back seat. So I really wanted to make a video about this thing because it's really cool, but I feel kind of bad not knowing a lot about the vehicle. I did jump online and looked everywhere I could, and here's the 3 sort of tricycles that I found that are close to what this is. Unfortunately, they're all made by Chinese manufacturers that don't really stick a brand name on the side of it. So I can't give you any real specific specs on this vehicle, but I still want to share my experience because I had a lot of fun driving this thing. So first off, although this looks really nice, it's definitely not designed for what I would call a normal-sized adult. I'm 6 feet tall and I could barely squeeze into the driver's seat, and I had even less room in the back seat. So there's no way I could drive this thing day in and day out, but for the hour and a half I did drive this, well, I was fine. The seats are nicely padded and I was able to make do. Driving this tricycle is actually really easy. I kind of think that these handlebars look a little bit intimidating because of all the sort of levers and buttons on it, but actually it's very simple. On the left-hand side you have 3 buttons. On the top, your headlights. In the middle, your turn signal. And on the bottom, the horn. You also have a handbrake with a parking brake switch. So you pull down on the handbrake, push this little switch right here, and then the parking brake is engaged. Shifting over to the center, you have a nice sized digital readout that shows your speed along with how much you have left on the battery. I drove this thing with the entire family loaded up, so that's 2 kids, my wife and myself, and we drove it for 2 hours and the battery indicator didn't even budge, which is, I think, pretty impressive. It makes me think that this thing is probably designed for some pretty heavy use, maybe as a rickshaw or a taxi in an urban area. There is a key for this. It's pretty long and thin, and quite honestly, it feels pretty cheap. But it was nice to be able to park the tricycle and kind of walk away for a while and not think that someone's just going to walk up and drive away with it. You turn on the tricycle by inserting the key right here below the digital display. Just one little turn and the vehicle starts up. It doesn't even make any noise. It's completely silent. On the right-hand side, you have some additional buttons. The blue button turns on an internal light right on the roof. And then you have additional buttons to shift over from first, second, and third gear. Well, sort of gears. Essentially, when you're in the first position, you're going slower, and then when you turn it into the third position, there's a little bit more speed and acceleration for you. And the acceleration is controlled just by turning the handle like this, just like you would for any other kind of scooter or motorcycle. This tricycle is actually kind of heavy, so the acceleration isn't great, but once you get up to the top speed, which I would estimate to be around maybe 15 miles an hour, you do feel like you're moving pretty quickly. And when you do get up to top speed, this thing, well, it's not exactly smooth. These are pretty nicely paved sidewalks that I'm driving on, and even with minor bumps, we really got jostled around pretty good. And I'm guessing that's because the tires on this thing are not exactly large, and the suspension doesn't feel like it gives and takes very much as you're driving. But despite the bumpiness and the small seat size and the lack of acceleration, all that stuff, none of it matters. When you get the whole family crammed in this little scooter, we had a blast. It was so much fun. We drove around for about 90 minutes and we were all smiling the entire time. All right, so that's my take on this strange little Chinese tricycle rickshaw thing. After driving it for about 2 hours, you're not going to be surprised, but I'm going to give this one 4 stars. If what I'm seeing on Alibaba is true and this thing is really only about $500, well, I might just order one. It's a ton of fun. So thanks so much for watching. I really appreciate it. And I hope you join me next time when I rent my 49th rental car. See you then.